3 de febrero. Bienvenidos a Maranata News, presentado por Maga Rodríguez. En los Estados Unidos, ninguno de estos 3 congresistas de Miami son trumpistas. En los Estados Unidos, Trump sigue ganando.
So Fani Willis, the prosecutor in the Fulton County case against Donald Trump, now just admitted to having an inappropriate sexual affair with the lead attorney who she appointed to actually prosecute this case. A few funny things about this. First of all, you got to love the fact that this admission came on, of course, a Friday afternoon before a weekend. No better way for somebody to know that they're trying to bury the news than to just drop it quietly on a Friday afternoon. Second thing, and I just got to observe this, is that no doubt that if Fani Willis were the man and the other appointed attorney were the woman, there would be a far greater specter of concern here than somehow if it's the woman that's actually on top in the hierarchy, but put that one to one side. The funniest thing about this is that her alleged defense, or the reason why this shouldn't affect the trial, is that the relationship only began after she had actually made the appointment for the prosecution. Now, if you think about this, that's actually backwards. I mean, it's bad either way, but the reality is, suppose the relationship did begin after this prosecution had already begun and the appointment to the case had begun. That creates more of an appearance of applying pressure using personal dimensions to achieve a particular goal. So I don't know why that specific sanctimonious statement that she issued today, saying that it only began afterwards, is at all relevant to actually whether or not this prosecution is being fairly and procedurally correctly handled and carried out. And if you imagine if this were a Democrat president defendant with a Republican prosecutor who had an inappropriate affair, say it was a man with a subordinate woman, putting pressure in the middle of a case, using a personal sexual relationship to do it, there's no doubt that everybody would have this tossed out on those merits. Well, you know what? If we really have one standard of the rule of law, the same rules should apply the other way as well. So anyway, just some obvious things to say, but that seem complicated in the way today's media presents it. So how's that for a Friday afternoon?
Quiero trabajar con los MAGA en el Congreso.
Today I introduced a censure resolution against Ilhan Omar. And the reason why I did that, and I'll just say this, censure is not going far enough. If it were up to me, we would expel Ilhan Omar and deport her out of the United States. Her comments are outrageous. She's acting as a foreign agent within our very government. She said the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interest of Somalia. She also said, for as long as I am in Congress, Somalia will never be in danger. Its waters will not be stolen by Ethiopia or others. Sleep in comfort knowing I am here to protect the interest of Somalia from inside the U.S. system. Ilhan Omar needs to be censured, but censure is not enough. I'm telling you right now, she's acting as a foreign agent on behalf of a foreign country. Our country is going to be taken over from the inside. She's not the only one. Look at Joe Biden. We're investigating Joe Biden for his family getting paid millions of dollars for him acting in the interest of other countries and getting rich by it. We're talking about Ukraine and Burisma. He got a prosecutor, Viktor Shokin, fired in Ukraine, and his family took millions of dollars for that. That's acting in the interest of a foreign country. That's being a foreign agent inside our government. We could move on. There's others here like that. Rashida Tlaib, she does everything she can to act in the interest of Hamas over in Gaza. She literally voted to allow Hamas terrorists to come into our country. She made that vote along with Cori Bush. Cori Bush is acting in the interest of terrorists. Rashida Tlaib and Cori Bush acting in the interest of terrorists. For as long as this continues and we allow people to serve in our government, acting as foreign agents for the interest and for the good of foreign countries and foreign peoples, our country is not safe. Ilhan Omar needs to be censured. I urge my colleagues to vote to censure her. But I also urge my colleagues that we need to join together to stop foreign agents serving in our government in the interest of foreign countries. We serve the United States of America, and that's it. We serve the American people and no other people. That's how our country needs to get back on track, and that's the only way we'll save our country.
Quiero alzar mi voz contra Biden.
Only a judge can make that determination.
And a judge has. I'm glad you said that. Multiple judges. The district court, federal district court, said there was a direct First Amendment violation. Court of Appeals unanimously, 3-judge panel, unanimously said direct First Amendment violation. I can't think of another time in American history when the President of the United States, and I say that advisedly because the record reflects that White House officials were sending emails and communications to these companies saying that the President himself wanted the censorship. So you've got the government doing exactly what Professor Knox said is not permitted under the First Amendment, directly coercing the speech of private parties, and not just one or two authors, but parents all across the country. Unprecedented in the history of this nation. So I'm glad we're having this hearing today. I hope that we will have more like it to expose the censorship happening at the highest levels of our government. Mr. Chairman, I'd ask that this opinion, this judgment by the Fifth Circuit, Missouri versus Biden, be entered into the record in full.
Without objection.
I will leave it there. I know there are other Senator Kennedys here who want to ask questions, but I just want to say for the record that this kind of censorship is un-American, it is unconstitutional, and I hope it will go down as a sad chapter in American history that we can close here and now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Hawley. Senator Kennedy.
Thanks to all of you for being here. There is an inescapable fact that all the American people know, everybody, it doesn't matter what political party you're in. Joe Biden and his administration have created a catastrophe on the border. Everybody knows it. The American people are demanding that we do something about it. We're trying. As you all well know, many months ago, the House Republican majority passed H.R. 2. That's our Secure the Border Act, which has all the necessary provisions to get this catastrophe under control. Why did we pass the legislation? We passed it because the president has refused to use his executive authority to reverse the catastrophe that he used his executive authority to create. That's the fact. We're desperate to try to get this done. We've been trying for 9 months, longer, to reverse the damage that they've done. The president has refused to act. It's been noted this morning, today, the Homeland Security Committee will take the next necessary step that's available to us, marking up and passing articles of impeachment for Secretary Mayorkas. He has presided over and helped usher in the largest illegal immigration catastrophe in our nation's history. It's not even close. Again, this is a self-evident truth that everyone knows. He has willfully undermined America's laws. He's made false statements to Congress and the American people. He made false statements to me personally in the Judiciary Committee many months ago. And he has handicapped law enforcement. Just last week, we received word that more than 302,000 illegal immigrants crossed our border in December alone. 302,000 in 1 month. It continues. But you know, that barely made headlines. Why? Because that's the new normal under Secretary Mayorkas' lack of leadership. And it is the result of a collection of deliberate policy choices by the Secretary and this administration. In fact, we've documented over 64 specific actions that the President and his administration have taken to undermine America's border security, starting within hours of President Biden's inauguration. Normally, presidents, as you know, use their first few days in office to set the tone for their entire term. He did that. On his first day, President Biden effectively dissolved our borders, and Secretary Mayorkas rolled out a welcome mat to millions and millions of illegal immigrants. And that's what we've seen for the past 3 years. It was just 4 months into his term as the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security that Mr. Mayorkas appeared before us in the Judiciary Committee. And I told him on that day in a clip that many people have seen that he needed to prepare his resume because it became immediately apparent to us that he was not doing his job. In fact, he was undermining the very system that he was supposed to administer. Now the president, this is laughable. The president is trying to flip the script. He wants to try to blame House Republicans in some way for the national security and humanitarian catastrophes that he caused. I can't make a full judgment on the national security supplemental, as the full details have not yet been released, but based on the news reports of this agreement that have been leaked, that Secretary Mayorkas, by the way, helped negotiate, it seems the new authority to shut down the border would kick in only after as many as 5,000 illegal crossings happen each day. Why? Why would we do that? Illegal immigration is illegal. It is against the law. Why would you tolerate 5,000 a day before you sought to suddenly enforce the law? That would be surrender. The goal should be 0 illegal crossings a day, not 5,000. And all the president's authority should be utilized at 0. Many of you may know about this letter that we received, an alarming letter, dated January 17th, by former executives of the FBI, and this has been circulating. It's addressed to me and to Chuck Schumer in the Senate and to our committees of jurisdiction, the chairs of Intel, Homeland Security, and Foreign Affairs, and Homeland Security and Government Affairs in the Senate. And it begins, dear Mr. Speaker and Chairman leaders, as former senior executives of the Federal Bureau of Investigation with deep experience combating dangers to the nation, we write to express our concern about a current specific threat that may be one of the most pernicious ever to menace the United States. And it's signed by all these former officials of the FBI and intelligence. Listen, this is not a game. We took 64 House Republicans down to Eagle Pass, to the epicenter, the Del Rio sector, South Texas, January 3rd. And we talked to the border officials there. We talked to the sheriffs who were given the impossible task of trying to patrol these areas that they have jurisdiction over. We talked to the state officials in Texas, and what they told us there is that at the Del Rio sector, by way of example, 60 to 70% of the people that cross there are single adult males within these ages, maybe 18 to 40. We saw this with our own 2 eyes. We talked to the people on the ground. We have an unmitigated crisis. And the president can take executive authority immediately, and he's pretending as though he does not know that. It's outrageous. The American people are demanding action. We are going to deliver it in every way we possibly can, and we'll continue on that course.
Castro a Chávez. Tienes que llegar por la vía electoral. La vía armada no funciona. Tienes que tener un discurso amistoso con la empresa privada. Un discurso de garantía de respeto a la libertad de prensa. Tienes que tener 2 banderas. La bandera contra la corrupción y contra la pobreza. Cuando llegues, acaba la economía de los ricos. Maneja la economía de los pobres y no hagas elecciones sino cuando puedas controlar el resultado.
Ahí está la receta.
Estamos a viernes, el día 2 de febrero del 2024 y les envío un muy sincero y efusivo saludo desde la ciudad de Miami, Florida. Estamos en la ciudad de Miami, que es una ciudad que, bueno, está en la parte final del estado de Florida. De aquí vamos a partir dentro de menos de 3 horas rumbo a Sudamérica para llegar hasta la ciudad de Lima, en Perú. Quiero saludarles de manera muy especial. Como siempre, cuando hay una noticia de última hora, se la comparto con perspectiva bíblica y profética. En los últimos días está por todas las redes sociales las declaraciones de Jorge Mario Bergoglio, el Papa Francisco. Usted sabe que este hombre es polémico, es controversial, pero más que nada es un gran hereje, y lo he dicho varias veces, es un increíblemente grande apóstata. Jorge Mario Bergoglio tomó las riendas de la Iglesia Católica en marzo del 2013. Ahora el mes que viene cumplirá 11 años al frente de la Iglesia Católica, que tiene más de 1.2 billones de seguidores. Sabemos que en los años desde que ha estado al frente de este gran grupo religioso, ha hecho unas declaraciones increíbles. Recientemente, el mes pasado, en enero, el día 14, que fue un domingo, estuvo en un programa de televisión italiano, donde estuvo haciendo unas declaraciones que fueron literalmente inauditas e increíbles. Por ejemplo, él dijo: me gusta pensar, palabras del Papa Francisco, que el infierno está vacío. En pocas palabras, no hay nadie en el infierno. Palabras de el que se supone que es el líder de la Iglesia Católica Romana. Sabemos que es controversial, sabemos que sus declaraciones literalmente estremecen cuando él habla, y las cosas que dice no están ni en la palabra de Dios, ni están, y él mismo dijo: esto no es dogma de la Iglesia, sino es una forma mía muy personal de pensar. Y sabemos que él ha dicho varias cosas sobre el infierno en los últimos 11 años. Por ejemplo, en el 2014 también, la primera vez que habló del infierno, él dijo literalmente que era un lugar que existía, habló claramente. Y luego en el 2022 estuvo hablando también con referencias, diciendo que no hay infierno. Entonces, ¿en qué quedamos? ¿Hay infierno? ¿No hay infierno? Más recientemente sabemos que las declaraciones de él han sido tan controversiales que los mismos conservadores y teólogos de la Iglesia Católica, algunos se han rebelado contra él, lo están denunciando. Por ejemplo, los cardenales y los obispos de África dicen que no van a bendecir las parejas del mismo sexo. Y él declaró esto. En inglés hay un dicho que dice doubling down, o sea, lo que él dijo lo hizo doble más fuerte. En pocas palabras, que lo sigue sosteniendo. Sabemos muy bien que lo que él diga es cuestión de él personal, porque Dios no puede, ni Dios va a bendecir parejas del mismo sexo. Sabemos que la palabra de Dios, las escrituras, la plataforma bíblica, los mandamientos, preceptos, principios, valores están claramente establecidos en la Biblia. Y sabemos que cristianos verdaderos, nosotros somos guiados por lo que diga la palabra del Señor y lo que nos entregó el Señor en sus benditos mandamientos. Entonces, cuando el Papa Francisco comienza a hacer estas tremendas declaraciones, de verdad que la gente dice: pero ¿qué está haciendo? ¿Qué está diciendo? Yo tengo tiempo diciéndoselos. Mire, el Papa Francisco, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, originario de Buenos Aires, Argentina, primero y antes que nada que quede claro, él no es el Anticristo, tampoco es el falso profeta, pero sí es, y claramente lo sostengo y lo declaro, es movido y manipulado por el espíritu del Anticristo. Primera de Juan capítulo 4 versículo 3. Es un increíblemente gigantesco globalista, es un socialista. Este hombre lo que ha hecho es literalmente unir todas las religiones del mundo. Ha jugado un papel muy importante en la cuestión de los últimos 10 días. La iglesia del tiempo final, la gran ramera, vaya, si buscamos en el libro de Apocalipsis, la iglesia ecuménica mundial, donde están metidos los mormones, los neopentecostales, los carismáticos, protestantes, católicos, los musulmanes están metidos allí. Recuerde que en el 2019 viajó a los Emiratos Árabes Unidos y estableció un pacto de paz con el gran Al-Tayeb, líder mundial de los suní, y luego 2 años después estuvo en la parte sur de Irak estableciendo un pacto con el líder de los chiitas. Sabemos que son 2 billones de musulmanes islámicos en el mundo, y el Papa Francisco no solamente ha llevado la fiesta en paz con musulmanes, sino que ha establecido un pacto religioso con ellos. Repito, pacto religioso a tal grado y a tal magnitud que en los Emiratos Árabes Unidos hay un complejo que ya se abrió, donde hay 3, está una iglesia católica en el mismo complejo, una mezquita islámica y una sinagoga judía. Esto es tremendo. Así que cuando tú miras al Papa Francisco, sabemos perfectamente bien que sus declaraciones van totalmente en contra de la Biblia. Cuando él dice, he pensado que el infierno está vacío, Jorge Mario, señor Bergoglio, el infierno no está vacío. Quiero que quede claro y contundentemente, el infierno está bastante lleno. Ahí hay personas como por ejemplo Saúl, Jezabel. Ay, hermano, ¿quién eres tú para definir y declarar quiénes están allí? Bueno, sabemos muy bien lo que la palabra de Dios nos enseña. ¿A poco usted no cree que Jezabel está ahí? Nimrod, Hitler, todos los líderes dictadores que masacraron, por ejemplo, Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, Fidel Castro, etc. Los de Hamas, estos terroristas que cometieron esta masacre literalmente contra el pueblo de Israel el 7 de octubre, el sábado negro. ¿Qué no crees tú que estos que ya fueron eliminados no están allí? Bueno, de acuerdo a la religión de ellos, el Islam, ellos dicen que ellos están en el cielo con 72 vírgenes. Lo dudo, no lo creo para nada. Sabemos que el infierno existe. Así que si alguien está cerca del Papa o si me está mirando, compártale la palabra, que lean la Biblia. Jesucristo habló mucho más del infierno que del mismo cielo. Y sabemos que es un lugar verdadero que existe. Óyeme, leamos la palabra, lean la Biblia para que se dé cuenta. Ahora, la humanidad en su gran mayoría prefiere eludir el tema, no tocar el tema. Lo que están haciendo es evadiendo la realidad de que un día, cuando partan del mundo, si no van para arriba, van para abajo. Hay una canción que dice para arriba y no para abajo. Amigo, yo quiero decirte una cosa. Este hombre, el Papa Francisco, ha llevado a la condenación, al error, millones de seres humanos. El purgatorio no existe. Hebreos 9:27 dice, está establecido que el hombre muera una sola vez y después el juicio. Ahora, estaba yo leyendo una información que hace unos 4 o 5 años atrás, pareciera que el Papa Francisco declaró, o no fue Francisco, sino Benedicto XVI había declarado que el purgatorio ya no existía. Sin embargo, está dentro de los dogmas de la Iglesia Católica todavía el tema del purgatorio. Según ellos, el purgatorio es un lugar donde la gente van a purgar los pecados, donde ellos queman toda la impureza en el alma para luego prepararlos para que vayan al cielo. La Biblia no enseña eso, totalmente lo contrario. Cuando una persona muere, dice el apóstol Pablo, estar ausente del cuerpo es estar presente con el Señor. Y si una persona no está con Cristo, no sirve al Señor y no está nacido de nuevo bajo la sangre del Cordero de Dios, si no va para arriba, el único lugar que le espera es abajo. No hay un lugar en el medio, no hay un lugar neutral, no va a estar flotando por ahí esperando a ver qué es lo que le va a suceder. Entonces es importante cuando escuchamos estas declaraciones, a mediados de enero, el 14 creo que fue de enero, en un programa de televisión, el Papa Francisco, déjeme ver dónde está el programa, qué programa dijo él, en un programa que se llama Che Tempo Fa. Che Tempo Fa es un programa de televisión. Incluso años atrás también, en una ocasión, él dijo que la mafia italiana, la única manera de escapar del infierno es entregándose a Dios. Entonces, ¿hay infierno o no hay infierno? Y él ha declarado que no hay infierno. Es más, él dijo no hace mucho, creo que el año pasado, que el infierno, cuando le preguntaron, es un estado de la mente, es el sufrimiento aquí en la tierra. Amigo, señor Bergoglio, el infierno es tan real como cuando tocas tu mano y te tocas tú mismo. Es un lugar verdadero y real.